Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, is my voice reaching out to you all? Hello, is my voice reaching out to everyone? Yes. So I am Ernest Shepherd, a special educator, doing this in-house training, and today's topic is gender sensitivity. Now, this word gender, then we add a very stimulating word that is sensitivity. No, actually, what we really mean by the word gender. First of all, we will be talking about the basic concepts, and before we move forward, let us get very familiar with this word gender. Yes, the word gender. Let us move on with this little word gender. Actually, gender is the state of being male or female in relation to social and cultural roles that are considered appropriate for both men and women. We use the word gender to indicate a biological sex or your sense of being male or female, or a combination of both. Gender also refers to the characteristics of women, men, girls, and boys that are socially constructed as well as relationships with each other. Now, let us go with the basics. First, we'll move with the basic concepts. Now, as we come to basic concepts, you can see on the screen sex and gender side by side, characterized as male or female, biological, next become fixed at birth, does not change across time and space, and equally valued. Then we come to the gender part, masculinity and femininity, socially, culturally, and historically determined, learned through socialization, varies over time and space, unequally valued, masculinity as the norm. Now, let us see what the other basically concepts will go over, and we come to this point. Basic concepts which we can see is categorized into sex and gender. Then, actually, the concept of gender sensitivity is a way to reduce the barriers caused due to discrimination and gender bias, creating the right kind of gender sensitivity in environment which leads to mutual respect regardless of their gender. Now, this is the concept. Then we come to discuss about, let's see, then what is the opposite of gender sensitivity? Gender discriminatory language, which include words, phrases, and other linguistic features that foster stereotyped or ignored women or men, as it is most extreme it fails to treat gender as equal in value, dignity, integrity, and also the most important is respect. Moving on to the next slide, we saw again, once again, we are coming back to gender. Now, was the first use of as phrase the social relation of gender. The social relation of gender seeks to explain sharing, decision making, divisions of labor, and return to labor within the household and in society, among others. Now, gender sensitivity again means gender awareness. Many of us do lack awareness. Before this, we had shared a topic on self-awareness. Now, awareness is very important in our lives. We build up a personality, we build up strength, we overcome our weaknesses, and we have gone through many of this, and many are under this type of pressure of self-awareness. The social relationship of gender seeks to explain in sharing, decision making, division of labor, and return to labor within the household and in society, among others. How to promote gender awareness in teachers and parents? This plays a vital role for even parents and teachers. We should be very much aware of gender awareness, or we can say gender sensitivity. We as teachers, it is a very hard task to maintain the gender sensitivity. Only then we can maintain this gender sensitivity or gender awareness after we know actually what is the meaning of gender awareness. Now, how should we promote this gender awareness? To be very reflective and be objective. That is, in the classroom, how should we promote the gender awareness among the students, among ourselves? First of all, we should be very reflective and be very objective. Get feedback from colleagues and students. Use gender neutral languages. Explain the context. Seat and group students in intentionally. Now we have seen most of the schools, or we have seen the seat arrangement that has been made in the classroom. Some of us we are not aware of what gender sensitivity does mean actually. So over here, I would like to discuss now certain classes. When we enter into a certain classes, you see a group of girls sitting all together in one line, and you see the boys just separated away from the girls, and they make their seating arrangement in that particular order as the girls are sitting. So, where is this gender awareness in them? Do they really know what what gender means. So we are there to cultivate this or make aware of what the gender sensitivity actually means. Now, especially we can see this in co-educational schools. Over here, we really have to be very active as teachers that both the female and the male, or the boy or the girl, are equally the same. So you should mix them and make aware the gender awareness among themselves. Let them understand that we are equal and we are to participate in every aspect of life equally as the men or as women. We are equally categorized. And the best way to avoid gender discrimination in classes or in schools, what we should do is the selection of more boys. Actually, what we do, a selection of more boys than girls for any type of competitions. Metacognition of their gender biased behavior by teachers. Recruitment of equal number of males and females. Making the classroom atmosphere where both boys and girls are encouraged, are questioned, and are reinforced. So here we should never use gender to group students. Over here we are coming to curriculum. Now all text reading materials and books be free of notion of gender inequality as bias is embedded in textbooks, lessons and teachers. Interaction with students is very much needed. Now what is about the educational system? Now yes, it needs to be gender sensitive. Now every education system means you should be free of gender discrimination. You have to be gender sensitive and gender friendly for girls and boys, both. This applies to all the teachers, where we should be looking into the matter of gender sensitivity equally for both boys and girls. Now, over here we can see needs for development of criteria for meeting gender sensitive guidelines. Now, we as teachers, we should have enough knowledge about the gender sensitivity, and the same thing should be spread out for the development of the gender sensitivity and building the guidelines for all the students. Coming to the next slide, actually what is the role of the government and the NGOs? Now you know the actual role of the NGOs. Actually you need to join hands to minimize gender discrimination and promoting gender equalities. Use of gender sensitive vocabulary, that means promoting gender neutral language, where we use very sensible language. Neutral language means that everyone would understand, not using vulgar language just because of whether it's a boy or it's a girl, woman or man, but we should be promoting a very neutral language. Now, education policies, all policies and programs and interventions need to be gender sensitive. Now, as we are talking about this, I would like to say what is the role of a teacher in bringing equality where gender discrimination is discussed. They should directly influence gender differentiation by providing boys and girls with different learning opportunities and feedback. Teachers may present curricular materials that contain gender stereotype behavior and exhibit attitudes and also behavior. Now, may I remind you, teachers must present curricular material. Teachers, when they present certain curricular activities or materials that contain gender stereotype behavior and also has to exhibit attitudes and watch their behavior. Now, this is the role of teachers, especially in educational systems or in schools. Then, removing gender sensitivity from school. Can you remove? We cannot remove. Every teacher can play the most significant role in mitigating the gender biases in school by recognizing the differences not marked by status but by diversity. So these are certain policies and programs, interventions that need to be gender sensitive, and teachers play a very vital role in bringing all this together to make it a very gender sensitive, in other words, making your students, making your colleagues and others very gender sensitive. That means making them aware of gender. Here we should be promoting teacher training programs where gender sensitivity should be mandatory, especially in the system of education. It's not only in the system of education. We work in different places, schools, offices. There also this type of gender sensitivity plays a very vital role. We always thought women as a weaker section and men were given the priority in every field. But now that has been removed. We should be understanding that gender, that means men and women are equally placed everywhere. You can see in the railways, in the airways, in the navy, in the army, where there is an equality maintained for both men and women, boys and girls. We are, most of us went back, or if you go back to the orthodox time, girls were prevented or girls were not allowed to go to school. But in today's generation, we can see, we can find a better percentage of girls rather than boys are making history. I mean to say, making history in the sense they are equally competing in the field of education, in the field of services, in the field of where there is no scope left, they are there. So, gender sensitivity should be playing a very vital role in our lives. And until and unless we are aware of this gender sensitivity, we cannot progress further. So we must understand that the benefits are offered in rural areas to promote girl education. That means we should be promoting girls education. Even in today, the government of India has been still promoting and giving scope, giving opportunities to promote girls education. And also we need to be strengthened to actually identify gender issues at home. Now how at home? The gender sensitivity also starts or gender awareness also starts right from home. Keeping up to the next slide. Gender training and sensitization sessions, then monitoring. Now, as I was discussing in the previous extra fringe benefits, I was talking about girls' education in rural areas. Actually, we fail in certain areas because lack of knowledge, awareness, acceptance of reality of the girls or women in different needs and competence, which leads to sex stereotype and other hidden forms. Some say schools are frame oriented places and boys and girls need more attention. Yes, boys and girls need more attention, it is often said, but at the same time, this also should be very active in public places, offices. They have to play, they have to understand what is the real meaning of understanding the gender sensitivity. Gender sensitivity training should be mandatory for all teachers, and the government is also offering a lot of mandatory trainings for the teachers, not only to understand the gender sensitivity, but in all fields where one is made aware of the system of schooling, what should be implemented in the right sense for the development and improvement in that lacking area of schools. Now, allocation of budget, we have commitment from senior leadership, government, gender sensitive organizational culture. First, we go to educational authorities and school must be provided a budget to promote and sustain the gender sensitive agenda. That is allocation of budget. Unless you have a budget, you cannot promote or sustain certain gender sensitive agendas. Then commitment, gender fair practices are effective when top leadership support gender equality, equity and also equality. The gender sensitive organizational culture change needs to be institutionalized by promoting gender balance. For example, equal valuing of men and women's working style. Now, this has been noticed in some of the remote places that both men and women working in a certain area of work where the labor, the charges are more for men than the women. Why that should be? When we are talking about being gender sensitive, then the question is arising awareness of gender. Then again we are saying man and woman has the equal rights and is looked over equally in all fields of life. So here equal value of men and women's working style also should be totally equalized. In the next slide, you can see on your screen gender mainstreaming and the role of media. Gender mainstreaming. Now, what we actually understand gender mainstreaming in order to address gender concerns holistically, it is essential to mainstream gender in all institutions of society. Now, gender mainstream, I'll give you an example what we actually mean by gender mainstream. The mainstream is actually gender specific activities and affirmative actions. Whenever women or men are in such particularly disadvantageous position, gender interventions can target women exclusively, both or only men, to enable them to participate and benefit equally from development efforts. How to adapt to mainstreaming? Now you can see how to adapt the mainstreaming. You can see on your logo, I don't know if it is clear on your screen or not, but still I would call it out to you. First of all, we should have gender sensitive language, gender specific data collection and analysis, equal access to utilization of services. Men and women are equally involved in decision making. Equal treatment integrated into steering process. This is how we are going to adopt the gender mainstreaming. We see on the screen train teachers in gender equality. This training raises the awareness of teachers and trains them to address prevailing gender and social issues in academic settings and in the society at large. Now, how does this gender equality train? The awareness of teachers trains them and socially issues in the academic setting and also helps in the society at large. Now conduct gender analysis. Gender analysis should be conducted through the curriculum, material, teaching and learning processes, school structures and cultures. Over here, we should go through the curriculum, materials, the learning processes. These are a few steps to analyze the conductor of gender. Strengthen school parent partnership. This plays a very vital role in most of the places where it may be in school or in offices. In schools it may be teachers, but in offices it may be an administrator or a boss. So we have parents, teachers, administrators and local officials should be aware of their legal obligations and children's rights. Train for gender sensitivity needs to be mandatory. All teachers should be gender sensitized and must be exposed to gender sensitivity. Going back, I would like to share with you how it should be helping the awareness Next we come to the key officials should undergo gender sensitivity trainings. Both Department of Education and the CHD from the top echelon down to the lowest level of school managers should undergo a series of gender sensitivity training. That means all have to go or should undergo the gender sensitivity training. Just a moment, I'll be changing the slide. The key officials. The next we go to develop set of criteria to rid textbooks of gender bias and sex stereotyping. Now this is important part over here. Authors, publishers, board of textbooks and other concerned agencies. Stereotyping and continue to review existing textbooks and teacher manuals in elementary and secondary level for sex biases and stereotyping. Here it is clearly understood that the authors, the publishers, or the board that is printing out the textbooks for elementary schools should not carry abusive languages or vulgar pictures or use of slangs. So this is the criteria to rid the books of gender biases and sex stereotyping. That means all these should be well trained in gender sensitivity. That means being aware of gender or gender awareness. Review policies for possible discriminatory clauses. Concerned school officials should review policies for possible discriminatory promotions, access to training and scholarships and other human resources, development activities to ensure gender pay school community. Kindly once again review this on your screen. Concerned school officials should review policies for possible discriminatory promotions, access to training and scholarships and other human resources, development activities to ensure a gender fair school community. What role should teachers play to address gender sensitivity issues? No, actually, most of us fail to understand what gender sensitivity really means and how important it is. The roles the teachers should play is also very vital. But first of all, they should have the sense of gender sensitivity to clear out any type of issues prevailing in schools. One, the teacher should understand the gender roles and expectations. Attend gender training. Cooperate with government and NGOs. Now these are what the teachers should know. They should understand gender roles and expectations. They should also attend gender trainings wherever being conducted. Also cooperate with the government and the NGOs when they are promoting such trainings. The teacher should also strive to work hand in hand with schools administrators, promote gender responsive school, conduct researches. Sometimes we do work hand in hand and help out the administrators and promote gender school responsibility. Teachers should also find appropriate time to raise gender issues, initiate information discrimination, campaign for gender fair education, treat every boy and girl equally. Now, this is a very major concern that we should be practicing in schools. Equality, that means boys and girls should be equally approached, equally treated. So, I'm going back once again to this. We must try to work hand in hand with schools to promote gender responsive and be gender responsive. Conduct researches wherever you find them, then find appropriate time to raise gender issues and treat every boy and girl equally. So, as you have seen what teachers should really be doing, I would come back again to add on to what teachers should do in classrooms. They should be very reflective and very objective. They should also take a feedback from the students, how they feel, how they find this gender sensitivity. We should openly talk about and make them aware about gender sensitivity. The awareness of this gender sensitivity will develop them into better students. We should be using gender neutral languages, as I've just said, powerful language, equally understood by everyone, no vulgar languages, no slangs, and explain the context. Once we explain the context, we will see that students are becoming more and more sensitive towards you, understanding you, and then becoming more and more aware of this gender sensitivity. We should also be very careful when we are making a group of students. We should see that both boys and girls are equally treated, be it in games, be it in in-house competitions, or any type of activities that are being conducted. Both boys and girls should be getting an equal, or they should be treated equally. Now, what is the best way for us to avoid this discrimination in a school, especially where gender sensitivity is concerned? Selection of, where this is where we fail to, sometimes we do really fail. We must select. There shouldn't be metacognition of their gender behavior. We should recruit them in equal number. Both must be females and males, or boys and girls, making the classroom atmosphere rather beautiful by encouraging them, questioning them in various fields, where a student or the students feel very much encouraged when we make such gestures and make them aware of lot of things, and then questioning them and then reinforcing them to use what is right from wrong and teach them never to use gender to group themselves. The curriculum will also help as reading materials and books must be of gender, they should not be free from the gender inequality, and the lessons must and the teachers' interaction with the students must be gender friendly for both. You and the teachers and the students benefit a lot from understanding the gender sensitivity, and it becomes a very stress free where we slowly are implementing them under this awareness, making them or equalizing them, developing them into better students, making the school, the classrooms, into bringing them into a very friendly atmosphere, taking the negativeness from them that if I sit next to a boy, they always think negative. That should not be. Make them aware of this sensitivity. Make them aware that you are both equal, the boy or the girl. You are equally able to enter into various aspects of life in studies, in games, in sports. You are equal to a boy, and a boy is also equal to a girl. That means implementing this into their minds or developing their minds into a matured students who in the later stage also help out socially, and they become very socially aware of the things that they were lacking, and school is the only platform that they can learn the most very sensitive parts of their life and groom to be a very developed personality and practice which make them very effective top leaderships and leaders, just supporting the gender equity and equality, where we the media does play a very stereotype traditional for women and men, but it also needs to be addressed and promote the gender equality. Now, training for teachers is very essential. So, as the teacher becomes aware of this sensitivity, then it becomes easier for the teachers to promote this into a student, prevailing gender and making them not only in academic settings but also promoting them socially at a very large area. We should also provide them materially and give out the resources. The parents also play a very major role where gender sensitivity is concerned, because charity begins from home. So, taking that in mind, we should be saying that even creating the sensitivity, creating the gender sensitivity into a child starts or begins from home. This should be very openly discussed among the house, the people in the house. They should time to time promote this sensitivity to the children, and that little sharing of this sensitivity will, as the students come to the school, uh, they will gain more and more from their teachers. That means the first parents to teach you, then comes the teachers who reframe and develop you into that particular sensitivity. We say parents are the first teachers, then comes the school. School teachers, we are the second teachers. Parents, in all respects of boy child or a girl child, they are the parents. So we start everything right from the house, and then slowly it is developed in the school to a more matured person. So I hope you like this topic of gender sensitivity. Likewise, we all should be very much sensitive to this topic they have discussed, and hope this will help you in your life as you go in any field, wherever you may be working. So, thank you all. How to cope up gender sensitivity.
Information from Believer.
Sorry for the instruction. And now, how to cope up with your gender sensitivity. Now I have a few points for you. Share household chores and child care equally. Next, watch for signs of domestic violence. Support mothers and parents. Next, reject racist attitudes. Help women gain power. Listen and reflect. Higher diversity. Pay and demand the same salary for equal work, be it men or women. And this is actually how to cope up with your stress, understanding gender sensitivity. Hope you like today's topic. Thank you everyone for attending. Once again, uh, we meet soon again. Thank you.